Often what I find most difficult about making Riddim Dubstep is the composition phase. This is the phase where you create the piece that you're going to mix and ultimately master and hopefully release. I often get hung up on making that one sound, trying to make it fit perfectly with maybe the drums I've already created or maybe this cool synth loop I found. Soon you're rewriting the whole track and losing that initial energy that made you start the project to begin with. Suddenly you're left with a graveyard of unfinished tracks. I certainly found myself in this situation recently, and I wanted to create a tool that can help me combat this creative hang-up I've been experiencing lately. So I hit the web in search of inspiration. Fortunately, my efforts were fruitful, and I wanted to share with you what I've created to help me with my production workflow. So let's put on our headphones and open up Ableton and I'll show you. So here we are in Ableton. I have my default template set up here. This is a template I made after watching Barley Alive's video on making your own default template, but it gave me some pretty good tips that I definitely put into my own default template. You should watch that video. It's a very good video. But we're not going to focus on that today. Today, we're going to look into my mids channel here, and you'll see two instruments I created called the Wub Machine and the Wub Factory. Now, what are these? These, my friends, are selector kits. Here I have an instrument rack that has a drum rack in it that also has a series of samplers put into some tiles here. Now, I'm going to show you how to make this, but first I want you to see the power of how it can help you with your music production, just coming up with ideas. So watch. I imported a bunch of sample into this bank and I put it on this slider wheel. So when I turn this macro right here, this drum rack channel right here, well, not there, here, will have a one of these sounds assigned to it. And every single point in this knob, as you can see there in that selector, is a different sound. So what I can do is I can create an interesting pattern and just mess around with the knobs until I find something that kind of works. Let me show you. So I just have these quarter notes lined up here in a MIDI clip, and I'm just gonna play it and just twist these knobs and see how it comes out. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. We can work with that, but we have a lot more potential we can do with twisting these knobs. So let's go ahead and mess around with them and see what we can create. So let's... I like that. I like that little downbeat right there. See? So I turned that and I found a different sound that I think sounds better. I like that. So that's a little more punchy. It just kind of steps out a little bit more, right? That sounds sweet. So I honestly just like the regular yoink right here on this particular map. So we've created ourselves a loop that we can then put into an audio rack or add other effects to, have them repeat on a certain like clave. So then you can take this and freeze it. Make yourself a new audio track. Just drag it right there. And there you go. You have yourself a good sample to work with. Now, of course, you can chop this up. You can create yourself another chain here and of different sounds. There's just, the possibilities are endless. You can just unfreeze that, do a different pattern, and just keep creating these sounds. Then from here, you can maybe add some post-processing effects just to kind of glue all the sounds together. We can go over that in the future, but for now, I just wanted to show you how you can create this really unique tool to help you with your production. So let's go ahead and make one of these guys. We're gonna go over here, we're gonna create a new MIDI track, okay? Inside the MIDI track, you want to drop a drum rack. Just like so. You can turn on the macro knobs, you're gonna need those later. Now, what you're gonna do in each one of these tiles is you're gonna go over back to your instrument rack and you're gonna pull or search for a sampler. Now, I think you need to have 10 suites to have the sampler, but simpler could work as well. But the sampler has just much more tools at our disposal. So we're going to drag that into a cell here. I like putting it up here so that I can map this cell directly to this cell here, just to make it a little more visually easy to tell which sample is what. So then, yeah, just drag them all in here. You can just copy and paste them if you'd like to. But every single cell should have its own sampler. or as many cells as you want, really. It's up to you. You can just have one. I just think that there's a lot of potential in having a bunch. So when you open up the sampler here, you have this little control here for zone. Inside this zone, you can see there's key, velocity, and select. You want the select to be on. This is your selector knob. This right here is what you're going to map to macro 1 to be able to choose your sounds. But first we need to import some samples. Go to your media library and just find a cool sample pack. I have this sample pack from 2Goot. I believe it's Samplifier and somebody else, but they've created this awesome sample pack with just some really cool sounds. We're going to go into the bass section, okay, and we're going to find bass one-shots. So we have all these different one-shots we can put. Now, a lot of them are keyed. I do say it's a good idea to put them into a key. So let's go ahead and choose just F, right? We can map all these F sounds to this sampler right here by simply highlighting them all and drag and drop right here. It's cool. You'll see every sample that's an F. There's a couple F sharps actually. Oh, there's an E in there too. So let's get some more F just to have more to work with here. You'll see we have all these samples put into our sampler, and you'll see this grid over here. This is your zones. So what you want to do is you want to highlight everything, just Control A, and right click in this zone area, and you will see distribute ranges equally. So when you click on that, it'll put each sample in its own range in the selector map here. So what we're going to do now is right click on the selector slider and hit map to macro 1. You can rename it. So this is going to be 2Goot F. Perfect. Then you can do that again. Maybe you can even copy and paste it. Oops, open the wrong one. You can copy and paste this again if you want to use these same samples and just putting them all together. It's probably a good idea to do that. Maybe I can go back down and find some more sounds in F. Here we go. Here's some more. So there'll be different sounds since they're from a different part of the pack. So, you know, they'll create contrast. So I can come in here, drag those in. Again, make sure everything's highlighted. Right-click here and select Distribute Ranges Equally under the Selection knob. And then map that slider to 2. And then we're going to put 2Goot F2. Perfect. Now, go into your MIDI track here and create a clip and just make some sort of pattern. Let's see. And yes, length of these notes do matter. Okay, I like this sound right away. So I just with the bass sound that it just loaded up, I can already create something with that. This first sound I want to change though. That sounds pretty cool. Okay. And then cool, now I have this quick little bass idea that is something we can work with. So I can go into the drum rack here and add some post-processing effects. So I created this thing. It's a audio effects rack, and it has a bunch of different fat racks mapped to, again, a selector. I'll show you how to make that in the future as well. Super useful. But I take this little knob right here and I just choose a fat rack of my choice and see what kind of cool sounds we can have from this. Perfect. So then I have also this cool tool I made called the Wobble Knob. It's done from ShaperBox. It maps a bunch of different ShaperBox to selectors as well, with different amounts of speed on the envelope. Just a regular volume shaper, and mapped it to a selector. I'm a bit addicted to selectors, as you can tell right now. I just think the potential of them is so good. I'm going to make a video on all of these. But for now, I just really want to show you the kit version of this for a sampler pack. It's just super useful, at least for me, in creating bass lines. So let's see what other sounds we can make with this. I'm going to throw in my other thing called Spin Effects. We're using these effects here. Great, I already like the sound of that already, so let's hear it all together. We'll just put that in the mix. And maybe we can do what I did earlier. Oh, that sounds cool right there at the end. Let's get this a fat rack. Let's just do my extra fat rack. Already we just layering those two different ideas together. Just repeat that. Great, I have an idea already sketched out. So we'll combine those together. Take this over here and make sure that stays. And again, I would recommend not making, if you're gonna like create a lot of different patterns and you like the sounds you've chosen for these like channels, I wouldn't recommend like copying and paste it. What I would recommend you do is freeze it and export it to an audio file. Even name it and then drop it in a bin. I have a file called Toybox where I just drop all my sounds in as I make them, and in the future I can come back to it, and it's extremely useful just for picking out some other ideas using your own sounds you've created in certain patterns with other people's sounds. So the possibility with this is just completely endless. So I think you guys get the point. I hope that this tool helps you in your future productions. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please give me a like and a subscribe. I'm pretty new and I don't really expect like a bunch of views right away. I don't. But I do want to support the dubstep community as they've supported me. Hopefully I can help you learn something, and in the future hopefully you guys can help me learn something as well. So if you guys want to be more involved, feel free to drop by my Discord. We're creating a community of music makers, DJs, and gamers as well. So thanks again for coming out. I plan to make some more videos about this. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Peace. That was good. That was real good.